What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another edition of Coach Davidson's Corona Academy. Today, Age of Exploration. We're going to look at why the Europeans decided we need to leave Europe and we need to go to all these other places that we've never heard of. By the end of this, you should be able to summarize the European motivations for transit and oceanic trade, as well as the innovations that allowed them to travel further. To make that easier to understand, you should be able to explain why Europeans decided to explore and what made it easy for them to do so. All right, so we're going to go over the new technologies in sailing, new things that made it easier for Europe to explore, how Portugal is the one that actually leads the way in exploration. Then Spain jumps in because they pretty much are jealous. And then, hey, the Dutch show up, but like super late to the party. All right, so set the stage. What's going on at that time? The Europeans had already been exploring, but this had been on land. They had been exploring from Europe to Asia, Europe to the Middle East, and they had been doing this during the Crusades, Marco Polo, which was a real person. That's not just a pool game. So exploration on land had already actually been taking place. But as we get better at sailing, the motivation kind of expands and gets even further. For the most part, Europe in the beginning had absolutely no desire or interest to explore foreign lands. You're going to see this starts to change, especially with money. When money starts to get involved, this starts to change. So yes, as I just said, a desire for wealth combined with various new sailing techniques and technologies makes this lack of interest become extremely interesting. All right, so first we're going to look at the new trade routes, the main desire for exploration, new sources of wealth, new money. All right? There's really three main motivations. They all start with G: God, gold, glory. Those are the three kind of reasons why Europeans will tell you that they explored. It was either to expand Christianity and help these people who did not know what Christianity was, find gold, get rich, or go out here, find a new land, get famous. So God, glory, and gold. But there had become a desire for exploration based on wealth. And it really started with spices and other things that come out of Asia. And the demand for these goods is really, really high. However, because they are in Asia, the supply is really, really low. So what you'll see as the year goes on is that as the demand for something gets greater, all right, so it's a graph. The demand for goods continues to grow, right? This is the more people want stuff. Well, as demand grows, dollar signs or price increases at the same rate that the demand increases. Think about it. The more people want something, the more you can charge for it. Once the PS5 comes out, the PS4 isn't going to be nearly as expensive because people aren't going to want the PS4 as bad because the PS5 is out. All right? So the demand much, much higher, which meant that the cost of these goods becomes much, much higher. And if the cost is higher and you can sell stuff for more, you can make more money. On top of that, England, Spain, Portugal, France, pretty much anyone that is trying to get involved in this exploration effort is trying to bypass Italy because Italy is kind of being a bully. They're not letting people come through Italy. Italy has all the ports. They're not letting other countries use their ports. So these other European countries are like, Italy's a bully. Let's find a way to avoid the bully. And so they're looking for new routes. And it starts as looking for new routes into Asia. What you're going to see is that a great, great mistake is made. And that mindset quickly changes, quickly alters. Europeans used Christianity as a means to explain their motivations for exploration, which I just talked about. The idea of converting non-Christians to Christianity becomes a big reason why a lot of Europeans claim that they are taking part in this exploration. So the tools for exploration get better as well. Technology gets better, makes it easier to advance. Ships improve, specifically the caravel. The caravel, and we're going to look at everything the slide says in this picture right here. Okay? So, the caravel is much stronger. It's a very stronger ship. It's harder to sink. So, if they're hitting things, let me back this up so you can see. There we go. If it hits things, it's not going to sink as quickly, which is kind of important if you're like in a boat sailing across the ocean. So it's stronger, it's more sturdy. They also develop these triangular sails, which becomes a huge deal because you can actually move the triangular sails back and forth to help use the wind to control where you're going. Whereas prior to this, with the square sails, it's not as simple as to navigate with the wind. You were almost at the mercy of whichever direction the wind was blowing. So if the wind was blowing this way, you were going to go that way. As opposed to with these triangle sails, you can kind of move them and navigate them to help continue traveling in the direction that you want to go. The cargo area. So this is the part that's underneath where people are standing. So just imagine you got people right here. This is the floor of the ship. Woo, people. Yes, little poorly drawn individuals. All right. The part underneath was the cargo area. This is where they can store goods, materials, things that they're going to trade, things that they're bringing back from trade. And so with a larger cargo area, the more stuff you can put in there, the less trips you have to make, therefore the less amount of money you have to spend, which increases your profits. It also has a shallow draft. Now, the draft is the portion of the boat that goes under the water. Even though a boat floats on top of the water, there's still a portion that submerges underneath that, and that is called the draft. Now, the smaller the draft, the closer to the shore you can get. So the closer to the shore you can get, the easier it is to get these goods off the boat. Again, less money you have to pay in labor in transporting the goods, more profit there is for you. All right, and so despite my poorly drawn, we're going to look at the actual picture of the caravel. This one much better drawn. You can see draft at the bottom. Cargo area is fairly large. These caravel ships kind of make it easier to explore. And so now we're going to look at Portugal, this little small tiny country right here, kind of within Spain. All right, little smaller country. And we're going to look at Prince Henry the Navigator first. Prince Henry the Navigator creates the School of Navigation. All right, he creates the School of Navigation for Portugal in 1419. And he's kind of the guy who sees exploration as a big deal. He's fascinated with the idea of exploring. And so he creates this school to try and increase the popularity of navigation. And so because he creates this school and people start to attend this school of navigation, Portugal starts coming up with these new sailing innovations, and they start to master these new technologies. And so they're literally leading the way. They're the first country to really put money into exploration. And so they become the first country to establish trading posts along the coast of Africa, ways that their ships can either take stops or, places where they would meet with other tribes of Africa to trade at instead of having to go inland. So you could just stay on the boat, trade right there, boom, keep it moving, all of which help increase money for Portugal. Prince Henry, which was the one we just looked at, he's the son of a king. He's very enthusiastic about the idea of exploration, wants everyone to be just as excited as he is. And like I said, creates that school And again, he wants to find treasures. He also says that he wants to spread Christianity. You're going to see Europeans like to use Christianity as a way to make themselves feel better. It's like if you're a cook, you cook things and you're like, this is bland. Let me throw some salt on it. Sprinkle a little bit of salt. This is a dish now. It tastes amazing. That's kind of how Europeans use Christianity. They're like, oh my gosh, let's just sprinkle some Christianity on it so that it looks like we're doing great, big, wonderful things and we don't look like just very, very greedy white people. So they sprinkle some Christianity on it. Prince Henry is no different, decides we want to get money and we want to make the world better by spreading Christianity. So, but Portugal continues to lead the way. Vasco da Gama is the first one to actually sail all the way around Africa. He finds a route into India. This is a big, huge deal. It's a way that they can bypass the Italian kind of bullies. They don't have to take that trip on land, which is much larger. Da Gama and his crew get there. They're astonished. It's fascinated by the spices, the silks, the gems, just the stuff that India has that Europe and specifically Portugal do not. Takes the 27,000-mile journey, makes 60 times the amount that was initially put in. 60 times. When he gets back to Portugal and word gets out that he made how much money? It becomes a huge undertaking. People all of a sudden get very, very interested in exploration because, again, if he needed, let's say he had to borrow $1 million to go on this voyage, he comes back with $60 million. He pays back the $1 million that he borrowed. Boom, he just made $59 million. Now, I'm not sure if that's not exactly how much it costs, but for the sake of easy math, for you to visually understand, he makes a lot of money, and it spreads, not just in Portugal, but all over. Everybody's like, hold up, there's a dude that made how much money in one trip? I need to do that. And so exploration becomes a huge deal. Like you can see, he travels around the coast of Africa, staying along those trading posts that Portugal had previously set up, finds his way into India, gets all kinds of stuff. So, Spain. Remember, Portugal is within Spain. Portugal and Spain have what I describe as a sibling rivalry. Spain is the bigger, older sibling that tries to help Portugal out. Hey, little bro, let me help you. Let me pull you along. Portugal kind of gets hand-me-downs from Spain. Well, this time, Portugal is the top dog, and Spain just watches with anger and envy as who they view as their little sibling is doing much better than them. And so Spain decides that they want to make claims. They want to get involved in exploration. Now, again, they have to get over this jealousy and this envy. And it's kind of like if you have a sibling, let's say you're the older sibling. I've done this. I'm just as guilty. The older siblings love it when their younger siblings get in trouble. We do. I'm sorry. If you're the younger sibling, it's a fact. If you're an older sibling, you know I'm not lying. Because we probably did whatever you, the younger sibling, did first. We've done that. We got in trouble. Now we see it as a rite of passage. We got punched in the chest for acting a fool. Now you're going to get punched in the chest. And it makes us excited. Why? I don't know. I guess because it's just an older sibling gene that makes us bad people. I don't know. But when my younger siblings got in trouble, I used to get excited. And so imagine you're watching your younger sibling do something and they never get caught. They never get caught. They never get caught. You know, if you get caught, oh, mama's going to smack you and I'm going to laugh so hard that my abs hurt. And they finally do it. They finally, like, something breaks and there's no way for them to avoid getting in trouble. And you're so excited. You're like, you gonna get it. And you can't wait, right? You just get it. You're excited. You can barely contain yourself. And you just wait all day. You're just waiting so that mom or dad comes home because you know they're going to get it. You're just sitting there, posted up, looking out the window. Like, ooh, just waiting for mom to pull into the driveway. You just can't do nothing else. You're just like, one of these moments, I'm gonna go pull in the driveway and you about to get it. This is gonna be great. And finally it happens. Mom, dad, aunt, uncle, grandma, grandpa pulls into the driveway. And you look at your younger sibling, you like, you're about to get it. And you go and find like a good place where you can watch it happen, because you can't get caught watching your younger sibling get in trouble, because then all of a sudden you're just as guilty and you don't know how it happened. It's an older sibling thing. I don't get it either. So you sit there and you're watching, just like in an irrational hiding spot. You're just like watching. You just can't wait. You just know. And mom walks in the house. Younger sibling is caught. Whatever they broke is sitting there out in the open. You know they about to get it. You remember when you broke it, when you did the same thing. You just know, pow, you about to get punched in the chest. It's going to be great. It's fantastic. You're so happy. And then mom tells the younger sibling, oh, sweetheart, it's all right. We'll just get another one. It's going to be fine. And from your hiding space, you think back to the time when you did the same thing and got the brakes beat off of you, and you get mad. You know how you get that so angry, you go upstairs and like you want to slam the door, but you know you can't slam the door because then you're going to get in trouble. So you like close it like slow but still mad, like slow, angry, close the door, and you like just start punching things, but like soft things, because you punch and put a hole in the wall. You're going to get punched. That anger is how Spain feels about Portugal. And so Spain watches with envy and jealousy and just anger as Portugal gets more and more and more. And then finally they get an opportunity. 1492, Christopher Columbus comes to the king and queen, and he's like, hey, I got an idea. India is that way, right? Portugal has already gone that way to get to India. I got an idea. Let's go that way. I can only imagine how many times he had to explain that before he made it make sense. But eventually he convinces them to fund this trip. I'm going to go this way. I'm going to get to India. It's going to be great. It's going to be fantastic. Right? And so he travels. He takes off trying to find this new sea route. This is when he makes the greatest mistake in the history of ever. Just absolutely horrific mistake. This man, Christopher Columbus, is an idiot. He had been to India before, know what it looked like, smelled like, felt like, all of that. Been there many a times, knew what India was like, and stepped off this boat in the Americas and said, I've made it to India. Mind you, looked nothing like the India he had ever been to. This is why Christopher Columbus is a dummy. But he also made the greatest mistake in the history of ever, because he finds the New World, the Americas, and he steps on that boat. And that's why we call Native Americans Indians, because Columbus himself thought he was in India. But he continues, he sends word back once he eventually realizes this is not where I thought I was, but this is a land that's got a whole bunch of resources. We got to go. We got to claim things, right? Portugal thinks that Columbus actually did reach Asia. It's hard to convince a lot of people, if you have never seen the land over there, that there's new land over there. And so Portugal thinks, he's out here claiming stuff that's ours. We're going to sail this way and go make sure he doesn't claim our stuff, right? And so Portugal takes off this way, trying to make sure that Columbus didn't actually get to a new land. And actually they realize, no, he's in a brand new place. And so they start claiming stuff. They're all just taking turns claiming things. It's like, this is mine. This is mine. That's mine. That's mine. And they're just claiming stuff, right? Just claiming everything they can claim. All it does is increase the rivalry between the two. And they start to fight. And they start to argue, right? And it's starting to get hostile. The Pope has to step in. The Pope says, whoa, look, this whole Reformation thing just took place. We got Protestants that are protesting our very being. I can't have two Catholic countries fighting against each other. All right? I'm going to step in. I'm going to make sure that we fix it. This is when you realize that Spain is the Pope's favorite child. Some of you with siblings know. If you're like me, you are the favorite child. But some of you may feel like your sibling is the favorite child. And so the result is the Treaty of Tordesillas. And the Treaty of Tordesillas is the Pope's idea of how to split everything fair and equal. Now, you guys are on video. I've walked around this entire classroom, and no matter where I'm standing in this classroom, this little red line that's dividing the land that's in black, no matter where you stand, isn't equal. Portugal gets this, which is present-day Brazil. Spain gets all this. Now, this is important. Today, it shows you how the impact of the age of exploration is today, because if you go to Brazil, they speak Portuguese. All these other South American countries and Mexico and Central American countries speak Spanish. But what you see, because of the Pope's involvement and because of the Treaty of Tordesillas, is a shift in power. Portugal's leading the way in exploration until this. And then Spain takes over. Which brings us to the Dutch. The Dutch are late to the party because they're kind of ruled by Spain. But they declare their independence finally. There's not much exploration left to do because Spain and Portugal and England and France, all these big countries, have already done it. And so, but they establish themselves as the Dutch Republic. And they're looking at, okay, Spain and Portugal kind of explored everything. England takes power from Spain because they become kind of like Enterprise Rent-A-Car. They're like, you know what, if your car's messed up, you can rent one from us. Except they do it with boats. So they start building boats, and people are using their boats, right? I suppose they have to build their own. And so England kind of takes over in exploration. And because in the process, they also go to the Americas and set up new colonies. But the Dutch are trying to figure out, what do we do? And so they decide they're going to follow the English model. They're going to follow the English model. They become very, very good at building these big, large, huge, massive ships that can carry all kinds of cargo. And they develop the largest fleet in the world, and thus establish what is known as the Dutch East India Company. And they do all kinds of things. They diversify what this company can do. Right? They employ more money. They make treaties. They raise armies. They rent their ships out. And they become more powerful than the British East India Company. See, the fact that the Dutch did it second allowed them to see all the things that the British had done wrong and fix it. And eventually they drive the English out, and they become the go-to India Company. And they're the ships that are being borrowed, and they set up shops in India, and they end up dominating that region. And so you would see from the Age of Exploration begins this competitive and very expensive pursuit to just start claiming stuff. This is mine. This is mine. That's mine. And they all start claiming, and it gets very expensive to go back and forth. And we learned that the world is round in this process. You can't just fall off. But the big one is that super big mistake that Columbus made where he accidentally ends up in the New World. Because what that does is set up new competition. And so we're going to come over here and we're going to look at the leaders in exploration. The leaders in exploration. The first leader of exploration was Portugal, which we talked about Because they had the School of Navigation. The School of Navigation, and that gives Portugal the opportunity to be the first leader in exploration. But then the second leader takes over. We talked about this. Spain becomes the leader of exploration. And they are able to do so because, remember, the Pope's involvement and the creation of the Treaty of Tordesillas and that treaty dividing all these new lands and giving Spain more than it gave Portugal allowed Spain the access to more resources, and thus they become the more powerful country in exploration. The third power is one that we didn't really talk about in the notes, but one that you need to know. The third one is England. And England is able to become the next power in exploration through warfare. Through warfare. And by going to war with Spain, they're able to destroy a lot of Spain's ships and take a lot of Spain's resources. And so they again establish themselves as the leader. But then the fourth leader in exploration we did talk about, and that's the Dutch. And the Dutch are able to become leaders and superpowers in exploration because of their East India Company. Because of their East India Company. Now, what you guys are going to do is you're going to take this information. You're going to complete a reading on exploration on Canvas. Make sure you're keeping track of your notes. Make sure you pay attention to the reading. And if you have any questions, reach out and let me know. Y'all have a great day.